Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you introduce yourself to the jury, please?
Police Officer David Lee.
Officer Lee, how long have you been a police officer?
This will be my 19th year with the police
19 years.
department.
Okay. Back in February of last year, 2023, where were you assigned?
Traffic division.
Okay. All right. You said traffic division?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. On the 18th of February, were you all called to Barnes Hospital?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Were you called out?
I was called out
Okay.
by the dispatcher.
All right. And when you arrived, did you have any information about what had occurred and why you were there?
Well, the dispatcher advised me that there was an accident in the downtown area. That was a possible fatal accident, and we were dispatched.
Okay. Now, when you arrived, were you actually in the same room as Daniel Riley?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And Officer McKay was in there with you too?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And can you describe his demeanor, how he was acting, what his mood was?
Nonchalant. Just nonchalant.
Okay. Relaxed?
He's relaxed and nonchalant.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And knowing that the situation that the crash may have resulted in a fatal injury, did you think that was unusual?
I'm going to object, Your Honor, in all respect. Overruled him based on his experience.
Repeat the question. I'm sorry.
Okay, so you said that the collision that you were being called out on to the hospital, that you learned that it was a collision to the extent that it may be a fatality, correct? That means a death may ensue, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that demeanor, can you kind of explain what you meant by nonchalant? Describe his actions.
Just nonchalant. He really didn't, as you were saying, he really didn't care that.
I'm going to object, Your Honor. That's beyond the answer.
Just saying you need to clarify the question so we can get an answer.
All right, what were his, if you can describe like the things that he was doing or saying or his actions that led you to use the word nonchalant?
Kind of like, can we get this over with? Can we move on? Can you get me down to be booked?
Okay. Did he, and was he agitated?
No, he was not agitated, no.
Okay.
Just very relaxed. It's just nonchalant.
Okay. And would you describe his demeanor as calm?
Yes.
Okay.
Calm.
Now, did you go down there to, was part of your job to get a blood draw?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
And do you remember giving the defendant his implied consent?
Missouri implied consent, yes,
All
ma'am.
right. I'm going to show you, and
We'll stipulate.
Please show me what you
6 to 22.
It's stipulated to it'll be admitted.
All right. And can you take a look at that?
Yes.
All right. Is that form that you read to Mr. Riley?
This is the form, yes, that I had him sign, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And can you tell the jurors what the Missouri implied consent, what that is?
Okay, it's just explaining to him that his blood will be drawn just to see if he was under the influence of any kind of intoxicant at the time of the accident. And he could have refused if he wanted to.
And did you read that from the form to him?
Not from the form, I read it from my phone.
Okay. So you had it in written form and you read it verbatim?
Yes.
And did the defendant agree to have his blood withdrawn?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember the defendant asking you if the blood draw was for alcohol?
Yes,
Okay?
yeah,
And when you told him yes,
yeah.
right? Did his mood change at all?
Yeah, he was like, okay, I'd love to see that. That's what he said.
Okay. When he thought it was just alcohol, correct? All right. Now, you don't draw the blood yourself, right?
No, ma'am.
No objection, stipulated.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to show you State Exhibit 21.
State Exhibit 21 is an offer and stipulated to.
What is that?
This is a blood kit,
Okay?
and I signed it.
Okay. So that's a blood kit, and who drew the defendant's blood?
The nurse.
A nurse. Okay. And were you present when that happened?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And what did you do with the blood vial?
Conveyed it to our department lab.
Okay. Put it in that
Yes, ma'am.
box?
Yes,
All right. You took it directly to the police department lab?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And do you see any markings on there reflecting that you signed off or put your initials and DSN on that box?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And is that box in the same or substantially the same condition now as it was when you used it?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Move to admit State Exhibit 21.
So be admitted.
And those are all the questions I have for you.
False.
So as I understand it, before you got called out to Barnes, you
Yes, sir.
Go get some blood.
So we got called out to go to the hospital. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
And get Mr. Riley's blood.
Yes.
Okay, so you had a specific task in what you were doing there, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. You had not been at the scene previous to that, right?
No, sir.
So you didn't perform like a field sobriety. Do you know what a field sobriety test is?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
It's a test to see if the person is intoxicated.
You've probably given that test dozens of times.
Yeah.
All right. Did anybody ask you to perform a field sobriety test on Daniel when you got called out?
No, sir.
Do you know if there was a field sobriety test performed at the scene?
I do not.
So when you said that you had reason to believe that he was intoxicated, what were you referring to?
Objection. The objection is that never came out
Okay.
in his testimony.
Well, what did you read?
Ask another question.
Sure. Do you have your phone with the Missouri implied consent on it?
Yes, I do, sir.
Can you read it?
Now?
Yeah.
No, it's not on my phone I don't even have my phone with me.
So you don't know those off the top of your head?
Not verbatim, sir.
Would it help you to refresh your recollection if you could hear you reading those to him about what you told him about? I have reason to believe that you've been driving a vehicle in an intoxicated condition.
Repeat the question.
Sure. Did you read him this statement? I have reason to believe that you've been operating a motor vehicle in an intoxicated condition.
Yes, I read the Missouri implied consent law. Yes, sir.
All right. So my question is, you personally had exactly what knowledge that he was intoxicated?
Well, due to the extent of the accident, we have to read the Missouri implied consent law. That's what I did.
Well, you read him those things, but you phrased it as if you had knowledge that he was intoxicated.
I phrased it as this Missouri implied consent law states. I read it verbatim.
Okay. You said, I have reason to believe.
That's what it is.
And quite frankly, after you were done advising him of that, and there was some more conversation, you said, heck, even if you would have refused, I would have got a search warrant. I would have woken up a judge. Right?
That's how it works, yes, sir.
Okay. What's a drug recognition expert?
I'm sorry. A
Drug.
DRE?
Yeah.
A DRE, that's an expert in drug recognition.
You guys have those in traffic, don't you?
We do have one.
Did somebody get called out to do that?
No, he did not.
Did you call somebody out to do that?
No, no, sir.
You actually had some kind of relaxed conversations with him because you were asking him if he was a rap artist and stuff like that, right?
No, sir.
Or was that McKay?
I'm not sure.
All right.
I didn't.
You guys were asking him where he was beforehand.
I didn't.
Was that McKay?
I don't know.
Was he saying that he was chilling? That he'd been at the studio? You don't recall any of that?
No, I did not.
And would it help refresh your recollection if you could listen to your body-worn camera?
As to relevance, Your Honor, object?
Well, they've been making it seem like he doesn't care. These guys are making him seem relaxed by that conversation.
Overruled.
Right? You had some conversations with him about his person, about what he was doing.
Okay.
All right? So you guys were relaxing him by asking him about himself.
What's your question, sir?
What, isn't that true?
Were we talking to him?
Yeah, it was a relaxed conversation.
Yeah.
Because you were engaging him about what he was doing that night.
I don't remember that, but
All right.
was I friendly to him? Yes, sir.
All right. I mean, you guys were friendly enough that at one point you actually had the cuffs unlocked, right?
Yeah, we did.
All right. And then later, when you finally put him under arrest, you said, I got to put these back on you.
Just cordial with him, yes.
Yeah.
We weren't.
Right. And you said, because you just don't know, somebody might get a little freaky and run or something, right?
Happens, yes,
All right.
sir.
But for a long time, he was out of his cuffs and things were fine. You were making him seem relaxed, right?
Yes, I was friendly to him, yes, sir.
Didn't he tell you about somebody who was not very friendly to him, about, kind of getting in his face about doing 70?
Objection exceeds the scope of direct.
Overruled. Goes to demeanor.
Repeat the question.
Sure. Didn't he tell you that another officer had kind of sort of gotten in his face, telling him he was doing 70 miles an hour?
No, he didn't tell me that.
All right. And he said something like, I ain't driving no Hellcat?
Did he tell me that?
Or McKay in front of you?
Not that I remember, sir.
All right. Oh, what'd you call him when you first got there? Do you remember?
No, sir.
Did you call him Real G?
No, sir.
Well, would it help refresh your recollection if you could listen to the body camera?
You said real G?
Real G. And you said, it's the way somebody wrote it down.
Okay. I probably couldn't read their handwriting. I wouldn't say real G. I probably couldn't read the handwriting. I probably pronounced it wrong.
Okay. Did they ever ask you to follow up with Elizabeth Smith and get a blood draw on her?
No, sir.
Do you know if somebody from traffic, Nico or somebody, said, hey, go get a blood draw from to another officer like Moore?
No, sir.
Nothing.
Any redirect?
Sure, just briefly. You were woken up in the middle of the night and told to go to Barnes, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you're having to rely on information from other officers to tell you why it is that you're going to Barnes, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And were you told that, hey, you need to give this guy his implied consent and we need to get a blood draw?
Yes, ma'am. By my sergeant, yes.
Okay. All right. So you did have some information that from people who were on the scene
Yes.
that the
Yes.
implied consent and the blood draw was important in this case, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, Mr. Deemer asked you about a drug recognition expert.
Yes,
Okay?
ma'am.
Now, you didn't have that in traffic safety back in February of 20.
I'm going to object, Your Honor.
Correct.
Overruled. You asked it. Follow up.
No, we did not.
So there was no drug recognition expert to call in February of 2023.
No, there was not.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Any recall?
Just one question. Did the sergeant tell you that somebody had found him to be impaired at the scene of the accident when he told you to go get the blood?
Objection, which sergeant?
Overruled.
Repeat the question.
Yeah, sure. Did your sergeant who told you to go there tell you that somebody had done a field sobriety test at the scene prior to you taking the blood?
No, sir.
All right, thanks.
Anything else for the clerk?
No, thank you.
All right, so you're free to go.